Hi guys. All right, so today we're gonna learn the pelvic tilt tremor. But first I want to talk just a little bit about where I'm at today. I woke up this morning feeling really depressed and stuck and lethargic, and it's been really hard to do anything all day. And I want to normalize that for a moment and just say that it's my belief that this is part of a normal human experience. We're told otherwise. We're told that it's wrong to feel depressed and that most normal people don't feel depressed and that we shouldn't feel depressed, and that if we do, there's something wrong with us. And I also recognize that everybody's experience is different, and it's fine if you have a different set of beliefs around this, and a different experience with this. I totally want to validate that as well. But I think that it's harmful when society tells us that if we're depressed, it means that we're broken, that there's something wrong with us. I think of this chart that I saw somewhere along the line of our nervous system. So we have the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system, and the sympathetic is another word for the one that gets engaged when we're stressed out or when we need to run from a predator. It's the fight or flight nervous system where our heart starts to race and we're ready to run or to get into a fist fight or defend ourselves. There's an immediate threat that we need to deal with. That's the part of the nervous system that gets engaged, the sympathetic nervous system. And then the parasympathetic nervous system is the one that it's also called rest and digest. It's the one that can be activated when we do deep breathing and yoga, when we get a massage, when we take a bath. And it's like lower energy, but peaceful, relaxed, safe feeling energy. So there are these two sort of levels of the nervous system. And in any given day, we kind of ride this wave between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous systems, where sometime in the day we're feeling stressed out, other times we calm down, and we just kind of ride this wave up and down. But when we experience trauma, which can be defined in a ton of different ways, again, there tends to be this stigma around trauma, where it has to be like you're involved in a war or a car accident or some horrible near-death experience, or brutal violence or things like that. Trauma, I think, has a much wider definition, or should, because things can be traumatic for us, even if they don't seem to another person like they should be. Our nervous systems can get way overloaded by things that are less extreme than the examples that I just gave. And I think that we all experience many traumas over the course of our lives, even if we never go to war or never are in a horrible car accident or things like that. Other things are traumatic and overload our nervous systems. So when we experience these traumatic events, it causes our nervous systems to spike out of the range, way above this normal day-to-day range. And then when we don't recover from it fully, our nervous systems can get stuck. And if they get stuck above the sympathetic nervous system line, that's chronic anxiety, where it's really hard to fall asleep at night, and we're just constantly way overstressed and we can't get out of it. It's just this highly overstimulated, overstressed area. So from trauma, our nervous systems can get stuck there. They can also get stuck below the parasympathetic line, which is that feeling of depression, where we're way lethargic and just it's really hard to do anything, hard to get out of bed, and so our nervous systems are stuck below that line. Trauma can cause those stuck points. And so one reason that tremoring can be helpful, and again, like, I'm not qualified to lead it for this purpose. It's something that I have experienced in my, well, specifically with EMDR, which is a particular form of therapy, but my body often starts to tremor when I'm doing that kind of therapy, so these modalities are linked. But moving the body, engaging with the breath, engaging in the shaking can help move some of that stuck energy and help us get back up into the normal functioning area between sympathetic and parasympathetic. So I'll offer that as food for thought. So the pelvic tilt, well, let's start with actually a warm up with a little bit of cat-cow, because we're playing with this this shape of the spine first. So for my yogis here, let's do some cat-cow. Cat when the spine rounds up, cow, and breathe in the cow and breathe out, cat, and breath in for cow. And then just doing this on your own, just really kind of exaggerating the movements here. And see if you can feel the whole spine, so from the neck all the way through the mid-back down into the tail, the lower back and tailbone, as you move in and out. And now for the pelvic tilt, the spine shape that we focus on is like the cat. So let's hold cat here for a second and take particular note of the low back and the tailbone and how they are curving in the way that is a little bit opposite of where they normally are. So the spine is naturally curved. It's not like a broomstick up and down. The neck, it's like a curve, and the low back it normally goes inward. But when we're in cat, we're exploring it, like pushing it the opposite direction. So that's what we're playing with here. So for pelvic tilt, find your way onto the floor. You can also do it on a bed or a couch. It'll be a little bit different, but it still will work. Feet flat on the floor. My head is probably going to be a little cut off, but that's okay. Feet flat on the floor, knees pointing up towards the ceiling, feet about shoulder width apart. And then find yourself here, and then see if you can find that upward tilt again. So the tailbone pointing up towards the ceiling. I don't know if you can see that, but just that engagement of the pelvis rolling up, tailbone up. That's the shape that we want. And then to look for this tremor, we are not going anywhere near bridge pose. It's just like the very beginning of bridge pose in yoga. So let your butt come like an inch off the floor, maybe. My head is cut off, but you need to see my pelvis. So let your butt just come like flirting with still being on the floor. It's like not very far off the floor at all. And make sure that your tailbone is still pointing up. The reason that we really want the tailbone up this way is because it leaves the energetic flow of the spine more open instead of cutting it off by bending it down. So we're exploring an energy flow through the spine this way. So as you hold your pelvis here off the floor, you'll probably notice that your glutes and thighs and maybe even your abs are all engaging and clenching to hold yourself here. So to find the tremor, you may even start to find a tremor if you just hold here long enough, because your muscles will start to get fatigued. But a different exploration and experience of the tremor is possible here when you see if you can release the engagement in your glutes. So see if you can let your butt go while still having your tailbone point up towards the ceiling. It can be subtle, it can be hard to find, and that's okay. Like, it's all part of the experience. As you play, as you explore, notice your breath. Don't try to control it, but just notice if you're holding your breath or just what your breath is doing. See if you can let your body continue to breathe if you notice that you're holding your breath. So as I'm playing here, I'm noticing that the tremor is beginning. And you may or may not, it's okay. This one can be harder to find. But just keep your pelvis like an inch off the floor and keep that tailbone pointing up towards the ceiling. And then see how much muscle engagement you can let go. So if you're able to let your glutes go, then also see if you can let some of the engagement in your thighs go. And when I start to focus on that, I start to find the tremor even more. And it's okay if your glutes are still clenched. Take that awareness back to your glutes. And it can be helpful if you're having a hard time to like really extra clench your glutes. So they're like super clenched, and then let them go from there. Maybe they'll be able to let go if you go to that other extreme first. If you're able to let your glutes and your thighs mostly unclench, see if there's any engagement in your abs that you can let go of. See if you're holding on to like extra tension in your chest or shoulders or jaw as you're like focusing all of it down here. See if you can let that go. And remember to breathe. And you can come into it and out of it. So if you get tired, let it release and then go back up again. You can play with sounds, sighs. It's an exploration of like moving some of that gunk through, some of that energy through. So play with that and let me know what you find. Let me know if you have questions. Be well. I'll see you soon.